Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kaylin Anderson and you are watching Pour Special Events. So today we are actually creating a video based on one of the comments that I got on one of my previous videos, and we are talking about contracts. So the nitty gritty, what you need in your contracts, why the contracts are so important, and kind of making sure you crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, because it's very important to set those ground rules in that contract, because there will be a day where you have to reference back to it and you want to make sure you have everything you need. As always, if you find this channel helpful, if you have any questions or comments, please share them under my videos. And if you find any value in this content at all, please subscribe, like, and share. So let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about contracts. So I am going to take you all the way back to when I first started, just right out of the gate, just selling the service of a bartender, a ramp certified bartender. So it was myself. I was bringing in, my bartending tools. I really didn't have any major packages. They were just hiring me to show up and pour everything of what they had before I had trailers, mobile bars, keg trailer. Before I have any of that, this is just how I took off running. So picture a 2012 MacBook Pro and Word documents and, as I call it now, snail mail, sending paper contracts in the mail and waiting for people to send you their deposit check and their contract back signed. I used to even do things such as waiting to meet with them in person to sign the contract and get the deposit. I would go with them when they would go to their venue, and so much has changed since then. So in order to really ramp up your bartending business, to get as many of your ideal clients as possible to book with you as quickly as possible, there are a few things that I highly recommend that you start doing right out of the gate. I'm going to share with you some of the things I had in my basic paper contracts from back in the day. And then I'm going to share with you the platform that I use now, because I do use Honeybook now. And I will tell you that it was a little overwhelming with all of the tools that they had in there. But now that I've taken some time to really dive in and see what Honeybook has to offer, I use it. If you use it correctly, it saves so much time. It helps you so much. And you can bring in so many more of your ideal clients so much more quickly and get paid faster. I will tell you that since I started using Honeybook and their paid platform, I've been able to secure clients immediately, and the average price of my package now has gone up by at least 50%, because clients can pay on terms that work for them using major credit cards. They can pay with a bank transfer. They can still send me a check or cash, whatever they want to do. But 9 times out of 10, they are putting it on that card. They are booking a year to 2 years ahead, and they're able to make installments to me. So they're willing to buy those higher packages because they know they now have a flexible means of paying for them. So that's great for me and for them. Okay, so the basics, everything I started with in my paper copies, let's kind of go through that first. So you definitely need to make sure you have your event date, your event location, any pertinent information. So who your hosts are, their names in there, but also if they're not the ones paying, if they have a family member paying, you need to make sure that they're on there as well. The next couple things that I felt are really, really important is to break down in black and white the services that you're actually going to be providing. So if you are strictly providing bartenders, you make sure that you have the number of bartenders in there and what that job means. So if it's just a warm body, we joke about, if it's just a warm body, you make sure they know you're not bringing cups, you're not bringing garnishes, you're not lugging in coolers. They need to have all of that there, and they are acknowledging they are only paying for you as a ramp certified bartender. So make sure you have those things clear. The opposite is true if they are booking packages where you are providing mixers, you are providing mobile bartending trailers, you are providing a keg trailer. You need to make sure that you have exactly what each of those things entails and does not entail. Another important thing to know is if you or your employees will be at that event, doing their event. So for example, when I first started, it was always me. But then as we really scaled and got going, I make sure the client knows when they are getting ready to book with me that I do not book myself for any event anymore. Now that sounds crazy, but it is to guarantee and ensure that they have 100% access to me from the day that they book through the time of their event. And I am always that backup person who will make appearances at all events the day of the event. But say, heaven forbid, one of my bartenders gets sick or there's a family issue or whatever, you always have me as that backup. So by not scheduling myself, I am also being like the best that I can for my family, but I'm able to make sure my bartenders have everything they need and they feel really supported and taken care of. I'm also to make sure the client is supported and taken care of. And then I am always that backup. I have heard so many horror stories about other mobile bartending outfits that pop up and their communication is awful. They don't show up. They show up late. They say that they're short-staffed and they say, the week of, well, you can have your money back, but we're not going to serve you. Well, at that point, your client doesn't really want their money. They want someone there. They need someone there. So by me not booking myself and them knowing right up front and you being very confident in how that, presenting that to them, there's never an issue that way. Okay, a couple other things on here. Super important. If you are a dry hire mobile bar, you need to make sure that you put in your contracts that you never provide the alcohol, that the pricing of the packages they're paying you for does not include any alcohol because you are dry hire and it is illegal for you to purchase or furnish any alcohol to them or their guests. Okay, super important. The next thing that goes along with that also for liability purposes is making sure you have a clause in your contract that says we never serve anyone under 21. We always ID to a certain age range, and that is 100% our policy. If you are coming to our bar to get a cocktail, you have to be 21 or older. I always make sure that's in there. And then let's see, a couple other little things that were in like my original ones. We can talk about this because it's important, because who would have ever thought that COVID would have been a thing and that major events would all be shut down and we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't party, we couldn't hang out. So for the longest time, I did have a clause in my contracts stating that if there is a natural disaster, if there is a crazy world event and your event cannot happen as scheduled, we have a step-by-step process of how we take care of this. So you either get your refund because they only put down an initial deposit that we agree upon. So this is only for like natural disasters. So hey, we're just gonna elope. We're not gonna have a wedding anymore. We can't because of this disaster. And for me, I am all about making relationships. I had so many, not so many, but let's say 3 for 3 out of my brides the year of COVID that just decided we are eloping, we are not even having a wedding. And they had vendors that were really, really horrible to them, that said, this is our livelihood, we cannot give you your deposit back. And it really ruined a lot of relationships. I am lucky that this is not my only job, but I said in that clause, like, I'm not spending your money ahead of time. I'm holding it. I only want that deposit. And if something happens, you will get that back. And every bride that I had to give a deposit back to, because of the way that I handled those situations, they went out of their way to go across all of my social media platforms and leave me outstanding reviews saying that I am in this for the long haul, I'm in it for the relationships, and I'm not in this to scam people. This is not a one and done. I want repeat clients, because as we all know, repeat clients are phenomenal. They're the way to go. They help build your business over and over and over again, just as much as venue owners. Okay, so I always had a section recapping everything that we said in that contract. So again, recapping the date, the location, your hosts or who's paying, recapping all of the services, like in short, what services they will have, a cost breakdown for those services, and then this is another important part. Depending on how you are choosing to get paid and or if you're accepting tips, you need to make sure that you and your client are understanding of your tipping policy. So in most cases, tip jars, nice glass tip jars on the bar, totally fine, never a problem. We have run into some events that are very nice upscale events where they just say, hey, we really, really think that, it doesn't look so nice to have a tip jar full of ones on the bar. You need to know that ahead of time, because there is no way to calculate an exact amount of tips that you're going to make. And 9 times out of 10, when you have 200 guests giving you all sorts of tips, that can add up. So you need to make sure you have a number in mind that's good for you if your client says, we really don't want you taking tips. Or, hey, you can take tips, but please don't leave them out on the bar. have a Venmo QR code set up, or a Cash App, or whatever you're using. Have that ready to go in your back pocket. Make sure that's in your contract, and make sure you come up with a price that you think is fair for your services if they're going to be the only ones tipping you. Make sure that's included. So all of my contracts say, hey, tip jars go out on the bar unless stated otherwise, and it is agreed upon in this contract. Okay. Again, make sure you are getting your signatures. Everybody is signing this contract. I also remind the client that, hey, you are not booked until you have chosen your services, you have signed your contract, and your deposit is placed. You are not booked. Your date is not saved, because there are so many times people, oh, I know this person through a friend of a friend of a friend. Yes, we want to work with you. Okay. And then I don't hear from them, and they never signed a contract, and they never got back to me. And then a month before, hey, can you still do it? Probably not. Or, I'm sorry, but it's going to be at this cost because now I have to run and get these materials last minute. I have to bring in extra bartenders. I have to do all these things on my end as the business owner. So make sure you have this set up in your contract. Now, that brings me to switching over into Honeybook and how great that is. Because in Honeybook, they have wonderful templates. Wonderful templates. I, for the longest time, was like, oh, this is a lot to read through. It's a pain. I don't have time. I made time. Make time. Go through their templates. Their event planning template is phenomenal. I was able to go right in. You can easily add the date of the event, who your client is. You can easily add the location, the time frames, and it already has a ton of information in there that works great for mobile bartending. It's phenomenal. The thing that I like on top of it is you can use what's called a smart, I'm looking at it now. I believe it's called like a smart project or a smart, hold on a second. Smart file, new smart file. And every time you create these smart files, you can save them. So then when you have a new potential client and you want to send them out your pricing brochure, your contract, the invoice, and payment options, you package that into a online 4-page package, and you can literally save it and reuse it over and over and over again. There is no manual saving. There is no manual going in and changing names. Honeybook stores all of it. So every time you open it, it'll create the new name based on the client that you're using and working with. It'll automatically file in those new dates based on if the client filled out your online questionnaire. It links your online questionnaire to your website. It's phenomenal. And it really auto-populates everything into that contract, into that invoice, all of it. So you're going to go in and you're going to set up these kind of like one-time things, all of your different packages, making sure that your one main contract has all of these pieces that we've talked about. And then you can wash, rinse, repeat every single time over and over again. It saves you so much time. I used to dread, I would be out and about, I'd get a phone call, I'm at the grocery store, they'd say they want pricing, I'd say, okay, I have to come back to my MacBook, I have to open up this, saved Word document, it's spinning, the beach ball of death, whatever you call it. I'd have to do all of that. I have to change in wording. Then if they looked at it and said they want something different, then I go back in and change it again. Then I'm printing it and mailing it out. Absolutely not. You don't have to do any of that with this. It's phenomenal. You literally go in, you make sure the client is in there. If the client's not in there, you quick add them as a new client, their name, their email, their phone number, and instantly all of their stuff auto-populates into that smart file, and you can send it right off to their email. They can review it. You can see it shows you little eyes in an email once they're looking at it. It'll show you as they're choosing their packages. It'll show you when they've signed, and it'll show you when they pay their deposit. You can instantly get those deposits through credit cards and bank transfers linked to your business checking account or however you have it set up. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Some of the things that I want to highlight in the contracts on Honeybook that are new that I wouldn't have thought of when I did my paper contracts. One of the big thing was attire. I've heard so much about this, and I could go on a whole video rant about attire, but it is super important when you are doing high-end events that you are explaining to them like what they're going to get, what are they going to see. Are you in suit and tie? Like, are your men bartenders in tuxes? Or are you in like a, more casual where it's a nice jean and you're wearing an apron and you have a button down and you're in the trailer and you're outside in the field? What are they going to get? Because the last thing you want to do is have a vendor show up to your event and they're not dressed professionally. Because I've been there, I've seen other vendors show up, and I cringe, and I've heard through guests and through our clients, like they were not happy with that. So goofy little things like that you wouldn't think of, they're already in these contracts. It's phenomenal. Some other things too. So with mobile bartending, huge thing, your time frame. Okay, so as a dry hire, you're kind of not really set to that time frame, especially if it's at like someone's private house or but these venues have time frames based on their insurance policies. So a lot of the venues that we work with, it's a 5-hour minimum, maximum 5 hours, that's it. So you really have to make sure you know what venue you're working with, what their policy is. And then I always say to my client, because they'll say, well, are these prices for a certain time frame? Do we have to add more? If you need an extra hour? And I say, these prices are for whatever the duration that your venue allows. That is what we follow. So if we're working with, this farm over here, they say, hey, you have a 5-hour. Then as we get closer and we're preparing for your event, I will remind you, hey, we have 5 hours. So you're going to have your ceremony, your cocktail will start right after, and then your cocktail is 1 hour if that's what it is. If we have to shut down for dinner to save you an hour, we will do that. And then you get 4 hours of reception. So we kind of work through that with the venue owner because everyone has a different policy. And number one, following the insurance plans is the biggest thing. So we always want to make sure we're complying with those rules. Okay, so let me think. Little recap here. We're talking about these contracts. We're talking about how important they are. Making sure you're getting all your client signatures. Making sure you have descriptions of what packages you're offering. Making sure that they know who they're getting, who they're working with. You don't have to say like, you're going to have Joey and Alex and whoever. You don't have to give them specific details like that. But just so they know, how many bartenders they're getting, what your policies are, what they can expect. Making sure it is clear, it is there. Another nice thing that Honeybook also provides is like, again, say there is, a cancellation, say there's something, it lays it all out in there of, really good in-depth details of, what you can expect, what we will allow, what we won't allow, all of that stuff. Talks about safe working conditions, which are really nice because sometimes you'll show up to an event and it's like, how do I do this or make this work? So it talks about kind of like, here's our guidelines. We need a dedicated spot for us. We need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It's a little bit different if you're bringing in your own mobile bar and you have a dedicated like spot to put it and you're just working out of that. But if you're working in someone else's venue, you need to make sure that they have the tools that they're saying they're going to have. So it keeps it all in there for you, tracks it, you're good to go. It's phenomenal. I hope this helps a little bit. I know that there were questions on contracts and all the things that you should have in there. Do you need a lawyer? I would say no. There are so many things that you can put into there, and if you have their signature and your signature and you have this contract, that's what you need. You need it signed. You need it signed by them. So you make sure you have everything in it. You follow what you put in there. You get those signatures. You get that deposit, and you provide a great product, and you shouldn't have a problem. Again, I am not a lawyer. I cannot give you legal advice. But if you wanted to get a lawyer to do this, they can do it too. They can write something up for you. You can do paper copies if you wanted. I know like local printing, we have like quality printing and different printing places. They will batch up contracts for you if you need them in paper form. But in the way of technology today, everything is online, and it's so nice to have a dashboard in Honeybook that it literally tracks like step by step. Here's the inquiry. You got back to them. The proposal was sent. The contract was signed. The deposit was paid. Here are your events that are month out. Do you need to, respond to them or send them anything else? It is phenomenal. If Honeybook sounds like it's something that might work for you, I will put a link in the comments below. I believe you can get a really great introductory. It's like $1 a month for 6 months, I think. When I started, it was $9 a month, and again, started with paper. Paper was free, right? When I was doing just a couple, right? And then we really got going, and I was like, I need something more concrete. So that's when I switched over, and I was like, $9 a month. Oh, that's a lot. But it's not, because the money that you'll take in, the more efficient you're going to be, the faster you can move, the more that will make up for it. I will tell you that I immediately jumped from their $9 plan. Within 6 months, my quota, the money that you're making, I jumped up to paying $40 a month for their plan. I never in my life thought I would ever pay $40 reoccurring monthly for something in my little side hustle, but I am now, and it's I can afford it, and it's great, and it has made the amount of money that I bring in just exponential. It's phenomenal. So if you have any interest, check it out. Check out my link. You should be able to get a good discount on it. Let me know what you think of it. If you have any other questions about contracts or anything like that, please put it in the comments. I do read the comments. I do try and comment back to you as soon as possible if you have questions or things or videos you'd like me to put out there. And as always, if you found this content helpful, please hit subscribe. We are growing. This community is growing. It's so neat. I think we're at like 400 subscribers at this point when I'm making this video right here and now. So thank you to each and every one of you for subscribing. I appreciate it so much. I never would have thought that this little like hustle of mine, I was like, hey, I have this skill. It helps me pay for things. I'm going to try. And then here we are. So if you have this skill, if you want to try something, if you're willing to work hard, there is money to be made. It is a great business. I say every week how lucky I am. And I kind of almost feel guilty, I say, when I'm away from my family for working, because I get to see the best in people every single weekend. I get to see their happily ever after beginning. I get to be a part of their most special day, even if it's in the littlest form. I get to see families reuniting from across the country, across the world, dancing, laughing, joking, little kids, playing and just having fun. Family, two families becoming one. It is amazing. And yes, we do things besides weddings, but I just talk about weddings so much because that is like 95% of what we get asked to do. But any event, it's just so special, and it's so great to be a part of these events where everyone's happy and having a blast. So I really appreciate you following this journey. I really appreciate your questions. I don't have all of the right answers. I can just share with you the things that have worked for me and try and help you kind of get past some of the stumbling blocks that I went through. And hopefully this helps, and hopefully it inspires you to be able to go out and start your own journey. And I really encourage you to do it and push through it. And your biggest hurdle is just going to be getting past yourself. So get past it and just get out there and do it. And all of a sudden you'll blink and you'll be doing it for 5 years, 10 years, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, look at this thing that I created and I built. And it's a wonderful ride. So thank you all so much for watching. Please let me know how else I can help, and I will be chatting with you soon.